guys are having a good day or night whenever you're watching this. Today we're going to be looking at some car auctions. Now, a little different of a video than what I usually do, but I think we can tie finance into it, and I don't know, maybe some of you are also into cars, so we'll see. But traditional disclaimer before we get into this, don't think it'll be as applicable, but none of this is financial, legal, or tax advice. I'm not a licensed professional. Do your own research and consult a professional before you invest or spend your money. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Now, these two sites, Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer, if you're a car enthusiast, then you are definitely familiar with them. Essentially what they are is a secondhand market for cars. It's kind of like an eBay for cars, but they have some sort of vetting process that, you know, listings that are onboarded to have, and the idea is that they connect you with the buyer. You bid on it through here. The site takes a cut of the final price for, you know, connecting the buyer and the seller, and then you guys work out the logistics of picking up the car, which is where this other site gets its name from. Bring a Trailer. They're saying, you know, after you buy the car, bring a trailer to pick it up. So I figured we scroll through these. Typically it only goes out 7 days at the end when people are bidding on it. If there's bids within the last couple of minutes, I think it will reset the timer to a certain amount of time. So a lot of people like this because it is centered around selling to other car enthusiasts. So if you have something that's kind of rare, you have the opportunity to kind of cater to that audience versus, you know, a traditional like trade-in at a dealer. They're not going to recognize a rare car as much. These are really clean. It's a 2012 Ferrari 458 Spider. We have a Porsche Cayman S, and you know, they list what the miles are, if there's options or modifications, where it was owned, because a lot of people care about the condition of the car in terms of like rust and sun. So to some people, they don't like to buy cars from, say, like very snowy and rainy areas because it's a much higher likelihood that your car will have rust. This is really clean. I like the Toyota Supra. I don't know if I love the red, but it's a really neat car. A lot of the cars that you'll see on here are 10, 15, 20, 30 years old, which is really neat to see. You're not going to see most of this stuff on like a Auto Trader or something like that. So, and then there's just these random like old BMWs and other cars that only go for like 5-10 grand, but some people like grew up on them or are very fond of them for random little reasons, so they're on here as well. We have an Aston Martin DB9 Coupe, currently at $29,000. We have a Range Rover Sport. I didn't realize they were 510 horsepower. That's pretty insane. Not crazy about the color. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on Range Rovers in general, but it is a nice looking car. You know, practicality wise, it's pretty nice. Carrera Cabriolet, Porsche Cayenne Turbo, TTS Coupe. I do like these. I hate the color, but I do like these a lot. They just go for a lot of money. They're kind of, you know, TTS would be comparable to like an M240, and these just tend to go for so much more. I feel like I just don't think it's worth it, but they are really neat cars. This is a very interesting looking vehicle. Honda S2000. I do like these a lot as well, but these have jumped crazy in price. Pretty popular car with the car community for like modifications. People like to trick them out, add a bunch of mods. Big mod market. So those tend to fetch a pretty penny. Old M3. Definitely more of a fan of BMW versus Mercedes or Audi. Just personal preference, but they're all nice cars. I'm not a fan of hatchbacks. I know some people are in love with them, but like this, the WRX, I'd group the like GR Corolla in there, Ford Focus, like a Golf. I'm not really a fan of that shape of car, just me. This is pretty neat. 90 BMW 325 IS. I do like the Miatas. They're pretty cheap, honestly. This one's only at $9,000, and granted it has a day left, but for what they are, if you're just looking for a fun little sports car, I feel like they're really neat, pretty appropriately priced. This is really nice M2 competition. For those of you who aren't familiar with kind of the BMW trims, so you have, if you look at the back of the car, here we can open this up. All photos. That's the other thing, is that they're required to post a crap ton of photos, which is really nice. So right here where it says M2 competition, if you look at this spot on any BMW, unless they've debadged it and taken it off, it'll have some sort of indicator here of what the trim is. So the lowest trim, at least for the current gen, is what's referred to as the 2 Series. It'll usually say like 235. On some older gens it'll be 228. And then as you step up, the designation changes. So 235 is the base 2 Series, and then you have M240, which is like the in-between of the M2 and the normal 2 Series. So it's like half sporty but not as expensive. It's like for people who want a taste of it but don't want to pay for the full thing. And then the full sports tricked out version that always has a lot more power, a lot more sportier look, a lot of accessories, is called the M2. So far you have the 2 Series, the M240, the M2, and then if you want to go one step above even the M2, it's like the special package for the sportiest version. That's the M2 competition, which this is. So there's really 4 tiers: 2 Series, M240, M2, M2 competition, and that same designation pattern for the most part follows all of the BMWs, at least 2 through 5. So you have a 3 Series, you have an M340, you have an M3, you have an M3 competition. Same thing with the 4 and the 5. The numbers can change slightly, so like the in-between version for the 5 Series is actually called the M550. The in-between for the 4 Series is called the M440. But for the most part, it follows kind of that same notation. And you'll have to forgive me if my voice sounds a little off. I'm coming off of like some sort of cold or something, but these old mini cabs are funny as well. These have really blown up. I see them all over social media. The Aston Martins are nice. I don't know as much about many of them, but they're just so expensive. I know it's like a luxury vehicle, but it's gonna be a long time before I'm kind of in that band where I can afford stuff like that. So I try not to get too attached. The same with these Rivians, the R1. This is the R1S. They're really nice cars, really neat cars, super fast, but they're just so expensive. Got an old X5. Ariel Atom. These are funny cars. They just look like a big go-kart, but they're like street legal. I don't really like Infinities as much. Porsche Cayenne, old M3, old 5 Series, Dodge Ram pickup, Chevy Z06, looks like a C4, C5, I don't remember the years that well. Tesla, don't know the Jaguars as well either. Pickup trucks are nice, but you know, there's not really a whole lot of variation in them. Some of the higher end ones are pretty neat, like the F-150 Lightning or the TRX, but M4 Coupe competition package. So again, there's the 4 Series, there's the M440, there's the M4, and then there's the M4 competition. So this is the highest of all the trims. That's why it's already going for $50,000 with 2 whole days left. It is pretty low mileage, but pretty crazy. Same with Mustangs and Camaros. I know that there's some really powerful versions out there with some cool stuff on them, but they look too similar to like the normal Mustangs and Camaros that I see all over every day, that it's kind of just made them seem not as special to me, but they are really fun, neat cars. these Land Cruisers, they go for a ton of money. A lot of people will drive them 150, 200,000 plus miles. Just a huge fan base for them. Here we have an M6 Mini Cooper, not a fan of those. C3, old Camaro, S63 AMG, another Miata. I do like Miatas a lot. I'm actually a big fan of Mazda in general. I really like the RX-7 if you guys are familiar with that car, but it's just really nice looking car. The new one looks a lot different than the old one, I will say, but I think they're all nice, and these ones are cool because they have a retractable hardtop, which is what the RF designation stands for in the title. It stands for like retractable fastback. So you can see that this one has a roof here, but then it'll actually retract and close into the trunk area. This whole thing lifts up and it moves back, which is really neat. So you get like a convertible without having to have the soft top, because I know me and a lot of other people aren't as big of a fans of the soft tops. This is crazy. It's already at $75K. It's a special edition with $42,000 in options. It was a collab with Kith, which you guys may know of. They do a lot of like clothing collaborations and such. One of 150 produced worldwide. So I forgot to mention, so X-Drive on a BMW just means that it's all-wheel drive. So for pretty much all of their versions, the 4 Series, the M440, the M4, the M4 Competition, there is an X-Drive variant of each, which just means it's the all-wheel drive version. So this has got literally all the bells and whistles, and it's a special edition. 911 Turbo, old M3 WRX wagon. It is weird to me, some of the cars that people choose to put on here, like this Lexus LX 470, like, unless I'm just not attuned to it, I wouldn't think that, like, that would be a huge enthusiast car. But got another M4 here. Not a crazy fan of that blue or this purple. That's kind of a crazy color. Formerly owned by Tyler Hoover. I don't know who that is. Probably a YouTuber. There was a, I think it was a BRZ that was on here that sold like a week or two ago that belonged to the car YouTuber TJ Hunt, if you guys know him. GR86, this is the new one. I actually really like this. The, basically very similar to the BRZ. I believe, I can't remember if Scion still makes the FRS or not, but they're all kind of the same car with just slight tweaks. But this one, I think, of the new gen looks the best. These are actually pretty affordable as well. It does technically have 4 seats, so it's not as impractical as you'd think, but it is a very nice looking car, and they're decently powerful. I think the horsepower is in the low 200s, but it's a small, light car, so it's pretty nimble, pretty quick. Got an old M3 coupe here. This is back when they were still a V8. That's a really clean 911 Turbo S. They're just so expensive. Porsches are just ridiculously expensive. Lincoln Town car. You'll see a lot of Corvettes and a lot of Mercedes on here. Yeah. Cayenne, Gran Turismo, Mini Cooper, Range Rover Sport. Got a Porsche Cayman GTS, M3 Comp. So usually how it works, and I didn't mention this either, aside from a couple of outliers, how it works is the 2 Series is a 2-door. The 3 Series and all of its, associated variants, M340, M3 Comp, etc., are 4-door. And then the 4 and 5 Series are bigger versions of both of those. So the 4 Series, M4, M440, all those are also a 2-door variant, but it's a bigger version of the 2 Series. And the 5 Series and all of its variants are a bigger version of the 3 Series and all of its variants. So 3 and 5 are 4-door, 2 and 4 are 2-door. There are some exceptions, so like that old M3 that we just saw, the V8 one, that was a coupe. They don't make them like that anymore, but there is also a Grand Coupe version of both the 2 and the 4 Series that features a 4-door. It's a little confusing, but yeah. And then we have a Lamborghini Diablo as the last listing here. That is pretty sick. Wow. Gorgeous looking car. Very, very neat, very neat. And I'm sure it'll fetch much more than what it's at now, which is $180,000. It still has 5 days left. This site is also cool because the YouTuber who originally started this, he recently sold it, but still very involved, is Doug DeMuro. And he writes a little blurb for all the cars that get listed. Also, very detailed description. There's even a little comment section for people to talk about the cars. For sure we'll see some on this listing. Yeah. And it shows the bid's live time. Pretty neat. And then there's another, version of that site, which is this one called Bring a Trailer. I also thought that we'd quickly talk about kind of what it looks like to afford an expensive car. Now, typically, the general rule of thumb is that your monthly car payment should not be more than 10 to 20% of your income. So, if you, let's say, are looking to buy a $50,000 car, so that maybe gets you a M240, depending on the lease length, or the financing length, sorry, because leasing is something different. Let's say you did it for 5 years, it's a new vehicle. Now the interest rate is the key part here. Some dealerships and brands are offering specials on certain cars for lower APRs to make them affordable, but as you guys know, interest rates are pretty high right now, so we'll assume that you can get, let's say, a 4% interest rate. Your monthly payment would be $921 a month. So if I just get my calculator out real quick and do some quick math, $921 a month, that's about $11,000 a year. So if that's going to be 10% of your income, you should be making about $110,000 a year, and that might even have to be take home, I can't remember, which means that you need to probably be making $150,000 to $170,000 a year to comfortably afford that and not have it be a big, weight weighing over you. So a lot of these cars, not for the average Joe like me, but I think it's fun to look at them nonetheless. This is a neat old Ferrari. I don't love the grills or vents on the side, but these old Corvettes are pretty neat too. I do really like the smooth body. Someone in my apartment complex actually has one like this. Alpina is also like a higher trim, more of like a luxury vehicle. I don't know as much about it, but that's what they are. It's a gorgeous Ferrari right here, already at $250,000. Crazy. This is an old M6, looks to be in gorgeous condition. So they make higher trims of the number cars above 5 as well. They make different versions, like the 6 Series versus M6, but a lot rarer, and they don't have a lot of the extra trims as some of the lower ones. I got some weird stuff on here. Bikes are neat too. If they weren't so dangerous, I would totally have a motorcycle. This is an old Lotus. Pretty neat, pretty boxy, but neat. M5. These cars tend to be not as crazy, or they kind of trend towards older, more collectible cars, but still neat nonetheless. Here we have a Porsche 911 Speedster from 1989. Old Ferrari here as well. Got a Hummer. Never been a huge fan of them. I used to love them well, I shouldn't say I've never been a fan of them. I used to love them when I was really little, but now I just think they kind of look silly. Some old Toyota. There's another 4Runner that I was talking about. Or no, I was talking about Land Cruisers earlier, sorry. Someone selling some Ferrari wheels. Already at $1,000, yikes. An old Bentley. They actually aren't as expensive as you'd think. This one's only at 18 grand with less than a day left. But the old ones, expensive to fix and keep. 350Z. These are okay. This and the 370Z, they're just alright in my eyes. This is pretty neat. V8 1989 Land Rover. 1969 Porsche 911 T Coupe. Very cool looking car. Are those lights? I don't know if I've seen that before. It's a gorgeous bike. 1999 Ducati Monster 900 Chromo. This is a newer Lotus. Newer, relatively speaking, just because the one we looked at earlier was very old, but this is from 05. They could upload some better quality photos, yikes. Guess they don't have the same listing requirements on here as they do on Cars and Bids. This is a crazy looking car. Z4, that's convertible. Old Bentley again, 40 grand. That's interesting. And an old Beetle, old BMW convertible. They have a luggage set for a Ferrari. Interesting. Now Targa. On Ferraris, Targa denotes this part here. So it's a convertible, but it's kind of similar to the Mazda RF in that the back doesn't go away. This doesn't have an automatic, retractable hardtop, but this back piece never moves even when it's in convertible mode. That's what Targa means. Old BMW M3, that's pretty clean. You can see people are selling a lot of random parts and other stuff on here versus Cars and Bids is solely full cars. I do like the R8. I wouldn't get a convertible, but yeah. On the Audis, I believe the Spider designation just always refers to it being a convertible. That's a funny looking old BMW. We got an M3 convertible here. Again, back when they actually made two-door M3s, they also don't make convertible M3s anymore because they're all four-door. Four-door and four-seater. Another Targa. See how the back stays there? That's what it's referring to. Got another old Bentley. See, only 14.5 grand. Someone in my complex actually has an old one of these as well. They love to drive around bumping, flexing that they have an old Must be a different brand I've never heard of. 911 Turbo. Very nice. Can't remember for sure, but the Cabriolet might just designate the convertible similar to the Targa designation. Carrera. This is a really cool car. This is new, the Maserati MC20. Usually not a big fan of Maserati, and that opinion is shared by a lot of car enthusiasts who think they're kind of flashy pieces of junk. But the MC20 is really neat. It's just super expensive. I believe it's over 200 grand, but this is it. Very, very cool car. Yeah. Unique. That is a gorgeous photo of this old. I don't even know if they had the designations back then. Another Diablo. We saw one of those on the Cars and Bids, if you remember. Datsun 280ZX. That's pretty cool. Looks like it was a race car. Old Porsche 928. Kind of getting this to some of the same cars just over and over again, so I think I'll probably end the video here. But I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know. Ooh, this is really neat. Old Miata. I love the Miatas with the pop-up headlights. Just a really neat car, and again, they don't go for that much. But hope you guys enjoyed the vid. Let me know your feedback on kind of a different topic like this. Not against doing something like this in the future, but drop a comment, let me know, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.